On the wedding night with my husband Yi Shizhou's widowed sister-in-law Shen Fangbing accidentally twisted her ankle, so Yi Shizhou left me, his newlywed wife, to take care of Shen Fangbing the entire night. The next morning, Yi Shizhou boldly planned to use all the servants I brought as dowry to buy ribs to nourish the weak Shen Fangbing, but when Yi Shizhou opened my dowry chest, he found that there was nothing inside. Everything is because I was reborn. I know my husband Yi Shizhou loves Shen Fangbing in his heart. Marrying me was just to deceive others. In my previous life, they treated me like an old servant to boss around. I took care of Yi Shizhou's sick parents at home, while Yi Shizhou enjoyed life with Shen Fangbing in the army. In this life, I will not pour my heart out to Yi Shizhou, nor will I be a beast of burden for him and Shen Fangbing, since Yi Shizhou is constantly thinking about Shen Fangbing. Let him find a way to take care of her himself. This lifetime, I want to walk a path without Yi Shizhou and Shen Fangbing sucking blood. What I didn't expect was that Yi Shizhou and Shen Fangbing were also reborn together. When Shen Fangbing sent her son Yi Debao to knock on the door, Yi Shizhou was just about to consummate with me. Yi Debao slammed the door loudly. Second uncle, my mom fell down the stairs, she's covered in blood. Yi Shizhou ran out without even having time to put on his clothes, and I, having been reborn, sat on the bed in a daze, looking around. I never expected to die and be reborn. Returning to the wedding night with Yi Shizhou, in my previous life, I fell in love at first sight with the tall, handsome, and charming Yi Shizhou, and I would marry no one but him. After much persistence, I finally married Yi Shizhou. When Yi Shizhou married me, he made 3 agreements with me, besides his sickly and weak parents. There was a widowed sister-in-law and an underage nephew in his family. After marrying him, besides respecting his parents, I must also help take care of his widowed sister-in-law and nephew. I loved Yi Shizhou to death, and agreed without a moment's hesitation. Yi Shizhou's widowed sister-in-law, Shen Fangbing, was delicate and fragile, collapsing at the slightest breeze and falling ill whenever she had to work. Yi Shizhou's parents were also tuberculosis patients, taking medicine year-round and unable to work, so I took on all the heavy and hard labor in the household alone. Right after we got married, I contributed all the meat, grain, and cloth coupons my parents had painstakingly saved for me, along with more than 100 yuan, to support this family. But my dowry is just a drop in the bucket for this family. This family is an unfillable bottomless pit. To ensure that Yi Shizhou's parents and Shen Fangbing's mother and son eat well and dress well, I endure cold and hunger, shamelessly returning to my parents' home to mooch food and drink, all just to prevent them from saying a single bad word about me in front of Yi Shizhou. Yi Shizhou's parents and Shen Fangbing's mother and son eat delicious food and live in luxury, growing plump and well-fed. I was emaciated and malnourished, fainting from hypoglycemia, yet there was endless work to be done. Even during my pregnancy, I carried my big belly and never had a single day off. Because I was at home being a good wife, Yi Shizhou could work in the army with peace of mind. He earned merit and was promoted in just 1 year. The first thing Yi Shizhou did after his promotion was to bring Shen Fangbing and her son over to accompany the army and take care of them. As for me, his wife, I continued to stay at home to take care of his ailing parents. By the time Yi Shizhou's parents passed away one after another, I was already over 50 years old and suffering from various illnesses. After handling the funeral arrangements for Yi Shizhou's parents, I planned to pack up and go find Yi Shizhou, who was already in a high position, to enjoy my later years in peace. I always thought that what awaited me in the future was the sweetness after hardship. But I never expected that before I went to meet Yi Shizhou, Shen Fangbing and her son Yi Debao came to talk to me first. Shen Fangbing, whom I hadn't seen for many years, was no longer the Shen Fangbing of the past. She seemed like a noble lady. She looked down on me with disdain. Qin Yue's parents-in-law are no longer alive. What are your plans? Of course, I am going to find Yi Shizhou. Looking for Shizhou? Just look at yourself now. Do you think it's appropriate for you to go find Shizhou? Shen Fang sneered coldly, then dropped a bombshell. I'm not afraid to tell you. The one who has been with Shizhou all these years has always been me. Everyone outside thinks I am Shizhou's wife. What did you say? You and Yi Shizhou? I looked at the pampered Shen Fang in disbelief. Since things are like this, I won't hide it from you anymore. Shijo and I were once lovers, but due to a twist of fate, I ended up marrying his brother. Shijo has always had feelings for me, but because he feared gossip outside, he married you as a shield. After Shen Fangbing finished speaking, she showed me their daily life outside with Yi Shijo. They drank tea and chatted together, watched movies together. I saw photos of Yi Shijo buying gifts for Shen Fangbing's birthday, and pictures of them smiling at each other, gazing deeply with affection. Combining this with Yi Shijo's cold attitude towards me, I finally understood. No wonder Yi Shijo has been so distant with me ever since we got married. No wonder Yi Shijo felt no sorrow at all when Shen Fangbing pushed me into the river and I lost the child. No wonder the first person Yi Shijo sees every time he comes home to visit is Shen Fangbing. And no wonder most of Yi Shijo's salary is given to Shen Fangbing and her son. He exhausted himself for Shen Fangbing and Yi Debao. He never had even the slightest thought of me in his heart. He only used me as a front, as an old nanny, as a servant to command. Knowing the truth, I couldn't bear it and collapsed after spitting out a mouthful of blood. I never expected to have a chance to start over, but since heaven has given me this opportunity, in this life, I will never be anyone's servant or nanny. I want to leave Yi Shijo and walk a path of my own. Yi Shijo seemed to have been called out by Yi Debao like in the previous life and never came back. In the previous life, it wasn't just that he didn't come back on the wedding night. Throughout the entire honeymoon, Yi Shijo was busy taking care of Shen Fangbing. He was attentively and personally caring for Shen Fangbing, to the extent that by the end of the honeymoon, he still hadn't found time to consummate the marriage with me, his wife. Even after marrying Yi Shijo for 2 years, I was still a virgin bride. Over these 2 years, it's not that Yi Shijo never came home to visit, it's just that every time he was about to consummate our marriage, Shen Fangbing would make a big fuss, either claiming to be sick or that her son was ill. Whenever Shen Fangbing caused a commotion, Yi Shijo would just abandon me and rush off to take care of Shen Fangbing and her child. In my previous life, I was utterly foolish, completely blind to the sordidness between those two. Although I felt that Yi Shijo's concern for Shen Fangbing was a bit excessive, I thought it was not easy for Shen Fangbing, a widow, to raise her son alone. I even regarded Yi Shijo helping Shen Fangbing and her son as a sign of his conscience and responsibility. In the end, after finally consummating my marriage with Yi Shijo and becoming pregnant, I was pushed into the river by Shen Fangbing. I had a miscarriage and lost the child. While Shen Fangbing was so greatly shocked that she fell ill, Yi Shijo hurried back upon receiving the news, only casting a quick glance at me, his wife, before busily going to comfort and care for Shen Fangbing, who was frightened and bedridden. If Shen Fangbing hadn't told me the truth in advance just as I was about to seek refuge with Yi Shijo, I would have foolishly been kept in the dark for my whole life, believing they were good people. Qin Yue was deceived for more than 40 years in her previous life. This time, knowing the truth in advance, she will no longer be a pawn for others. Since I know how things will unfold, I might as well have some fun playing along with this pair of scoundrels. I want to see if, in this life without me working tirelessly and pouring my heart and soul into it, Shen Fangbing and her son will live without worries about food and clothing. Will Yi Shijo have a smooth and successful official career all the way? I blew out the red wedding candle, lay down fully clothed on the bed, and slowly drifted into sleep while thinking. I was awakened in the morning by the sound of the door being pushed open, and when I opened my eyes, I saw Yi Shijo striding in. He looked at me lying on the bed, frowned slightly, and then strode straight to my dowry chest. Without saying a word, he opened my dowry chest and started rummaging through it. A few minutes later, Yi Shijo had turned my dowry chest upside down but still couldn't find what he was looking for. Yi Shijo stopped searching. His face darkened as he asked me, "Where did the meat coupons, cloth coupons, grain coupons, and money in the chest go? In my previous life, I married Yi Shijo to help support his family, which was completely destitute. I begged my parents to include all the valuable things from our home as my dowry. I brought the grain coupons, meat coupons, cloth coupons, and money that my parents had painstakingly saved to the Yi family. I happily showed Yi Shijo my dowry, reassuring him that I would take good care of his family. In my previous life, after Yi Shizhou took care of Shen Fangbing all night. He came back the next morning and directly opened my dowry box, took all the meat coupons inside, and exchanged them for ribs to help Shen Fangbing recover her health. Knowing how things would develop this time, of course I wouldn't be a fool. Last night I already moved my valuable dowry to another place. Faced with Yi Shizhou's accusation, I coldly retorted, "Your meat coupons were placed in my dowry box. How come I didn't know about this?" A flash of embarrassment and annoyance crossed Yi Shizhou's face. "They're not my meat coupons, they're the meat coupons from your dowry. Why do you want the bride price I brought with me? On the second day of our marriage, you're already coveting my dowry. Don't you think what you're doing is excessive?" Yi Shizhou looked at me in shock. What do you mean? Didn't you promise to take good care of my family when you married me?" "My mind was broken before," I replied expressionlessly. "Now that my mind is clear, I regret it. Yi Shizhou, I don't want to marry you anymore. Since we haven't consummated the marriage yet, let's get a divorce." Yi Shizhou's eyes suddenly widened when he heard me say that I wanted to divorce him. "Qin Yue, have you gone mad? How dare you even mention something like divorce?" It was no wonder Yi Shizhou was so shocked. He knew all too well how much I adored him. Yi Shizhou thought I was angry because he stayed out every night after our wedding, neglecting me. Unexpectedly, he explained for the first time, "Last night was an emergency. I didn't mean to leave you behind. At that time, sister-in-law was unconscious, so I took her to the hospital and stayed with her all night." After explaining why he didn't come home last night, Yi Shizhou immediately lectured me in a scolding tone. "Speaking of which, you and I are already married. I've told you before, marrying me means taking care of sister-in-law and Debao. Last night when sister-in-law was in trouble, you ignored it and still managed to sleep. That's just outrageous. In my previous life, I foolishly believed that Shen Fangbing's injury meant I had to run around with Yi Shizhou, worrying to the extreme. It was only later that I found out Shen Fangbing was never actually injured. She just wanted to cause trouble on my wedding night with Yi Shizhou by putting on a show." Yi Shizhou, out of love and concern for Shen Fangbing, was easily deceived by her. "But why should I, who knows the truth, have to pretend to be sick and pay the price for this shameless woman?" I sneered. "Your sister-in-law's fall was just too convenient. Not earlier, not later, but right on our wedding night." Yi Shizhou frowned. "What do you mean? It's nothing special. I just think this matter is a bit too coincidental." Yi Shizhou saw that I was speaking with a hint of sarcasm, so he slowed his tone. "Yu Wei, I saw that sister-in-law was injured and weak. So I thought of using your meat ticket to buy some ribs to help her recover. Now that I've told you this, you should go buy the ribs yourself. I won't be home often from now on, so you need to get along well with sister-in-law." I was still wondering why Yi Shizhou suddenly changed. Turns out he was waiting here to slap me and then give me a sweet treat. Yi Shizhou's words made me laugh uncontrollably. He looked at me puzzled. "What are you laughing at?" I stopped laughing and looked at Yi Shizhou word by word. "You just need to get along well with your own sister-in-law. No need to drag me into it. Aren't we one flesh and blood as husband and wife? You promised me when we got married." I directly interrupted Yi Shizhou. "It was my oversight before. I didn't think enough. I didn't know you cared so much about your sister-in-law. Given your family's situation, I really can't take on the role of your wife. Let's part on good terms. I'll pack my things and go back to my parents' house soon." My insistence on divorcing Yi Shizhou caught him off guard. He stared at me repeatedly, then slammed the door in anger and left. Yi Shizhou didn't take my dowry to buy ribs for Shen Fangbing like he did in the previous life. Shen Fangbing, unable to get the fragrant ribs, actually took the initiative to come find me. When Shen Fangbing arrived, I was packing up my things, getting ready to leave. Shen Fangbing burst in with great force, and when she heard the noise, I turned my head to look at her. Her leg wasn't lame, and her body was fine, just like a normal person. I gave a sarcastic smile, and Shen Fangbing slammed the door shut, angrily growling at me. "Qin Yue, what do you mean by this? Why on earth do you want to divorce Shiju? I'm warning you, the Yi family is not someone you can easily handle. You better know when to stop, or it will be too late to fix." The hatred surged in my heart. Having been used by Shen Fangbing in my past life and driven to death by her relentless provocation, I stared at this disgusting woman in front of me, speaking each word deliberately. What business is it of yours if I divorce Yi Shizhou? Who gave you the right to boss me around? Go back to wherever you came from. Shen Fangbing didn't expect me to retort at her like this. And her expression grew even uglier, in a sharp, shrill voice. You were the one who kept nagging and insisting on marrying into our Shizhou. It's only the second day after the wedding, and you're already demanding a divorce and planning to leave. Don't you have any shame? Speaking of shamelessness, if you're not number 2, no one dares to claim number 1. Didn't you injure your leg? But I see your leg is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong at all. Seeing me staring at her leg, Shen Fangbing's expression stiffened. She only intended to bring bad luck to me and completely forgot to keep up her disguise. I gave her no chance to catch her breath and continued to sneer coldly. Day after day, you do no proper work and only engage in crooked schemes, and you pretend to be injured to get meat. If you want it so badly, go earn it yourself. Coveting my meat ticket, you are the most shameless thing I've ever seen, not even worthy of being called a human. Shen Fangbing's face was a mix of blue and pale. All her shameful thoughts were laid bare before me. Even after all this, Shen Fangbing no longer pretended. She glared at me viciously. You yourself promised to marry Shizhou and take care of our whole family. Since that's the case, you have to keep your promise. I'm weak and sickly. Isn't it only right for me to use your flesh as a ticket? What a sense of entitlement, I sneered, when I promised to marry Yi Shizhou. I had no idea he cared so much about you, his sister-in-law. If I had known he was so devoted to you, even abandoning me on our wedding night to take care of you, I'd be a fool to want to marry him. Besides me, there's no one else in this world foolish enough to wade into your family's mess, right? I did everything I could to please Yi Shizhou's family so they would accept me when I married him. I used to be very cautious with Shen Fangbing, afraid that she would speak ill of me in front of Yi Shizhou if she was unhappy. Now, I speak to Shen Fangbing without any courtesy at all, speaking with a sharp edge. Shen Fangbing found it hard to believe. You, Qin Yue, are you crazy? I nodded. Just consider me crazy. In short, from now on, I want a divorce from Yi Shizhou. I won't get involved in the mess of your family anymore. After saying that, I took down the wedding photo with Yi Shizhou and directly cut off his side with scissors. Then threw it into the trash bin. Shen Fangbing saw that my actions were not a joke at all, and the arrogance on her face disappeared. She asked me somewhat incredulously, You really want to divorce Yi Shizhou? Of course, if your eyes aren't blind, you can see that I'm packing my things, right? Seeing me ruthlessly dealing with the wedding photos with Yi Shizhou, I continued packing my things in an orderly manner. Shen Fangbing finally believed that I wasn't throwing a tantrum but was really going to leave. The expression on her face changed unpredictably, and after a long while, she reluctantly said again, I can explain what happened last night. I didn't mean to disturb your wedding night. I accidentally fainted. Your matters have nothing to do with me. No need to explain to me. I don't want to hear it. I interrupted Shen Fangbing and continued packing my things, seeing that I was ignoring her. Shen Fangbing finally had no choice. She looked at me with venomous resentment and said angrily, Qin Yue, do you think I came to explain to you willingly? If it weren't for Yi Shizhou begging me, I wouldn't deign to come find you. I'm telling you, enough is enough. Or else you won't be able to save face or end things properly. So it was Yi Shizhou who sent Shen Fangbing to explain to me. That's quite surprising. After all, in the previous life, Yi Shizhou always firmly stood behind Shen Fangbing. Even when Shen Fangbing pushed me down and caused the death of our child, he never blamed Shen Fangbing in the slightest. Now, for the first time ever, he actually let Shen Fangbing come to explain to me. Isn't this like the sun rising from the west? I don't believe Yi Shizhou truly wants to keep me. He must be afraid that if I leave, he won't find another fool like me to take advantage of. Yi Shizhou clearly knows that besides me, there is no other fool who would work hard and endure hardships to help their family. That's why I took a step back. No matter what Yi Shizhou thinks, it has nothing to do with me. Right now, I just want to pack up and leave. In my past life, I worked like a beast of burden for the Yi family all my life. And I never showed a bit of filial piety to my parents. In this life, my primary task is to honor my parents. I finished packing, grabbed my things, and was about to leave when Yi Shizhou hurriedly arrived and stopped me at the door. "Qingyue, what on earth is going on? I've already apologized, and even had my sister-in-law explain to you. Why are you still throwing such a tantrum?" After saying this, Yi Shizhou caught sight of the torn photo of him in his military uniform in the trash can. His face changed drastically. You tore up our wedding photo." He rushed over in 3 or 4 quick steps to pick up the torn photo. And I saw that his hand was actually trembling. "This is really something you don't see every day. Does he care that much about the photo of us together? How is that possible?" I had to coax and drag him to take those photos with me. At the time, he kept scowling and was very impatient. "By the way, I was the one who paid for the photos." Thinking of this, I sneered coldly. "What does it have to do with you if I tear up the photos I paid for?" Yi Shizhou seemed provoked by me, suddenly turning around with bloodshot eyes glaring at me, his voice very stern. "Qingyue, dare to step out this door and try me." I was already about to leave. Was I really supposed to stay just because of his threats? I grabbed my bag and strode out. Just stepping over the threshold at the door, Yi Shizhou grabbed my arm, pulling me back with force. I was very angry being restrained by Yi Shizhou like this. "Let go of me. Let me go home. This is your home, Qingyue. I'm telling you, you are now my wife, Yi Shizhou's wife. Our marriage is not a game. It is a military marriage, protected by law. Without my consent, you cannot go anywhere. Yi Shizhou does not agree to divorce and won't let me leave. Our marriage is a military one. Since Yi Shizhou does not agree to divorce, I really cannot leave on my own." I was forced to stay. I was holding a breath inside, unable to rise or fall, feeling extremely uncomfortable. "You don't want me to leave, do you? Then I'll just give up. I want to see if I do nothing and care about nothing. Will Yi Shizhou still keep me as a decoration?" After making up my mind, I stopped making a fuss, completely ignoring Yi Shizhou's family, not taking the initiative to help with housework, nor showing concern for Yi Shizhou's parents, even less likely to flatter or act cute to win favor with Shen Fangbing and her son. I refused to be the old servant. So naturally the household matters fall on Shen Fangbing's shoulders. Shen Fangbing deliberately limps while cooking, doing laundry, and working in the fields. Shen Fangbing was busy running around, exhausted to the extreme, while I stood aside munching on sunflower seeds, watching the show. I knew she was putting on a performance, trying to make Yi Shizhou feel sorry for her. This was her favorite thing to do in her past life. Whenever Yi Shizhou came back to visit, Shen Fangbing would rush around pretending that she was the one holding the family together. As soon as Yi Shizhou left, she would pretend to be sick and unable to get out of bed, pushing all the chores onto me. I have to admit, Shen Fangbing really has a talent for acting. In my past life, I was completely deceived by her. This life, if she likes acting, let her do it. It has nothing to do with me anyway. As expected, Shen Fangbing's acting had an effect. Yi Shizhou's mother accused me of being lazy and idle, defending Shen Fangbing. I turned a deaf ear and continued watching the drama. Then Shen Fangbing suddenly fainted again while fetching water. During the chaos in the Yi family, Yi Shizhou was unhappy to see his beloved struggling so much, and he even came to lecture me again at night. "Yu Wei, isn't it too much for you to do nothing? Your sister-in-law is still injured." I impatiently asked Yi Shizhou, "If I don't marry you, will your family stop eating, stop washing clothes and working?" Yi Shizhou was left speechless by my questioning. I sneered, "I've only been married here for a short 2 days, and your sister-in-law faints at the slightest thing. Accidents happen all the time. Is she Lindayu or something? That delicate?" Yi Shizhou was stunned for a moment, then said, "It's just a coincidence. Your sister-in-law works hard managing this household all by herself. She's too tired." "So what does that have to do with me? She's managing her own affairs. She cooks for her son and herself, washes clothes for her son and herself. Working hard to earn money to support herself and her child isn't just natural and right." Yi Shizhou stared at me in disbelief. Yu Wei, you clearly aren't such a harsh and unreasonable person. You clearly have so much compassion." "Yes, I really am not that kind of person. I want to be loving and not harsh, but what's the use? What have I gained from being overly kind? In the end, I only ended up dying from anger." "Yi Shizhou, I will never live a good life with you, and you don't need to use our military marriage to control me. It's better for both of us to part amicably. Anyway, I'm making this clear up front. I won't be a beast of burden for your whole family." Yi Shizhou's hand was trembling. Why exactly is Yu Wei like this? No reason at all. Just think of me, Qin Yu Wei, as someone who is two-faced. Yi Shizhou grabbed my hand, looking at me with his beautiful eyes. His voice was gentle and affectionate. "Yu Wei, you are not that kind of person. I know you are not. I know you have a kind heart. I know you are hardworking and uncomplaining. Yu Wei, I swear I will make your life better. Believe me." I sneered coldly. Who doesn't know how to make empty promises? But in the last life, Yi Shizhou was too lazy to even talk to me, let alone make empty promises. This life, Yi Shizhou seems like a completely different person. He actually said such affectionate words to me, as if I was so important to him. But I know he's lying. I know he doesn't love me at all. The one he loves is Shen Fangbing. The reason he pretends to be so affectionate is just to deceive me into willingly sacrificing myself for him. I ruthlessly pulled my hand away. "Yi Shizhou, no matter what you say, it's useless. Let me make it clear from the start. I won't help you take care of your delicate sister-in-law and your precious nephew, nor am I interested in being a beast of burden for your family. We'll get a clean divorce, and you can find your next sucker. You can't count on me." A hurt expression flashed across Yi Shizhou's face, but I didn't know what he was sad about. After a moment of silence, Yi Shizhou grabbed me again and pulled me into his arms. "Yu Wei, last night was my fault. I owe you a wedding night. And I'll make it up to you tonight. Yu Wei, tonight we consummate our marriage." "Right now," Yi Shizhou said as he scooped me up horizontally, and I was startled by his action, struggling desperately. "What are you doing? Let go of me. Yi Shizhou, are you crazy?" Yi Shizhou was very strong. My struggles had no effect on him at all. Soon I was placed on the bed by Yi Shizhou, and he bent down to kiss me. This was something that had never happened in 2 lifetimes. Although in my past life I consummated my relationship with Yi Shizhou, it felt like he was just going through the motions. There was no tenderness, no foreplay at all. This life, he actually came to kiss me. Has he lost his mind? I pushed Yi Shizhou's face away with my hand and shouted angrily, "Let go of me. Yi Shizhou, I don't want to do that kind of thing with you." Yi Shizhou couldn't see my anger and rejection. He continued to come closer as he pleased, his voice carrying a tone of ingratiation and endurance. "Yu Wei, I will cherish you well. Don't be afraid. Tonight we will have a child, and from now on I will take good care of you and the child." I struggled fiercely, but it had no deterrent effect or impact on Yi Shizhou, ignoring my resistance. He tore off my coat. My biting, struggling, and furious curses did not shake Yi Shizhou at all. Just when I was in despair, Da Bao's piercing cries came from outside. Second uncle, come quickly, my mom, she's in trouble." Hearing Da Bao's wailing, it was like I saw a glimmer of hope. "Yi Shizhou, go check on your sister-in-law." But Yi Shizhou, unmoved, pounced on me. "No, tonight, not even the King of Heaven can stop me from consummating with you." Has Yi Shizhou gone mad? Clearly. In the past life, whenever Shen Fangbing had even a little trouble, he would be deeply distressed. I can't think of any reason for Yi Shizhou's sudden change. I don't want to consummate the marriage with him. Yi Shizhou, have you forgotten your eldest brother? You promised to take care of your sister-in-law in his place. You can't be ungrateful." As I spoke these words, Da Bao's cries outside grew even more piercing. He pounded on the door with a bang bang bang. "Second uncle, my mom. She really got into trouble. This time it's for real, not pretending. She's bleeding a lot. Second uncle, please help." Amid Da Bao's desperate cries for help, Yi Shizhou's parents were also alarmed. The neighbors on both sides were also disturbed. Yi Shizhou couldn't continue any longer and had to let me go. He dressed neatly and went out to see what was happening, and I quickly put on my clothes and followed to watch the commotion. At the entrance of the courtyard where Yi Shizhou and I lived, Shen Fangbing lay on the ground motionless, her face covered in blood. Da Bao was crying miserably beside her. Mom, wake up." I looked at the slippery, shining road beneath Shen Fangbing's feet and a smile appeared on my face. "Serves you right." Shen Fangbing fell hard, her head bleeding and unconscious, and was taken to the hospital. When they were taking her to the hospital, Yi Shizhou even wanted me to go along. I firmly refused, watching the neighbors disappear with Yi Shizhou. I glanced once more at the frozen, stiff road at the door, yawned, and returned to my room. Locking the door, I lay on the bed and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Tonight. Shun Fangbing can be said to have brought this upon herself, but it was also inseparable from my scheming. I knew Shun Fangbing would come to eavesdrop and would try every possible way to get Yi Shizhou to leave. The hatred from the past life is not so easily dissipated. I despise that pair of scoundrels to death. So before going to bed, I deliberately poured several basins of water at the door. At this time, it was the coldest part of winter, where water freezes instantly. After pouring those basins of water, wouldn't the ground become slippery? Shun Fangbing was completely focused on stopping Yi Shizhou and me from consummating our relationship, so she had no time or energy to notice that something was wrong with the road, so she fell right into my trap. I deliberately set this up to punish Shun Fangbing. I knew she would fall and get a bloody head injury, and I knew she would call Yi Shizhou. I was waiting to watch the show. But the only thing I didn't plan for was Yi Shizhou forcing himself on me. Speaking of which, I owe my safety to Shun Fangbing, otherwise, the consequences tonight would have been unimaginable. That night, I slept soundly, without any burdens. Yi Shizhou came back in the morning, with a tired face. Yu Wei, sister-in-law, is seriously injured. She has a large gash on her head, stitched with 15 stitches, and her nasal bone is also broken. I felt a surge of relief hearing Yi Shizhou say that. But I showed no sign of it on my face. That really is too unfortunate, so pitiful. But why would she leave her own yard and come to our gate? If I remember correctly, she fell around 10 o'clock. Right, at that hour, wouldn't she be resting instead of going out for a stroll? Yi Shizhou's expression darkened, and after a moment of silence, he said, Yu Wei, let's not discuss why she came now. The hospital just notified me that payment is due, and I don't have much money on hand, so. Could you lend me some? Sure, I agreed readily, clearly seeing the surprise on Yi Shizhou's face, but I quickly added, I have one condition. If I lend you the money, you and I must get a divorce immediately. Yi Shizhou looked very displeased after hearing me out. I will not divorce you, Yu Wei. Don't even think about divorce. Then I can't help you. I shrugged. Yi Shizhou silently looked at me for a long while, then left without a word. Yi Shizhou refused to divorce me and had to scrape together money from all over to pay for Shun Fangbing's surgery at the hospital. The already worsening family situation became even harder to bear as Shun Fangbing stayed in the hospital, eating porridge with pickles 3 times a day. Life was exceptionally difficult. Yi Shizhou's mother, who had been silent all along, couldn't hold back any longer and came to talk to me. Yu Wei, now that you see how things are at home, a family should not speak as 2 separate households. You can't just stand by and do nothing. You have to find a way to solve the problem. Debao hasn't had any solid food for 2 days, only drinking thin porridge. How can he grow strong like this? I clearly understood what Yi Shizhou's mother meant. The old lady was worried about her precious grandson, and she was also thinking about the dowry I brought with me. In my past life, Yi Shizhou's mother did recognize my hard work. The old lady comfortably enjoyed my care, never once speaking a word in my defense. In her heart, there was only her precious son, her eldest daughter-in-law Shun Fangbing, and her beloved grandson Yi Debao. She knew I worked hard to manage this household, she knew my toil and fatigue. But whenever Yi Shizhou came to visit, she never mentioned my hardships. Instead, she was always concerned about Shun Fangbing and Yi Debao. She schemed in every way to follow Shun Fangbing in squeezing me dry, emptying all my dowry to support their family. I was so obedient, so honest, so hardworking and uncomplaining. Yet she never said a single good word about me. She thinks I deserve it, that it's only right for me to be a beast of burden for their whole family. Who told me I liked her son and willingly lowered myself. I've been married to Yi Shizhou for 2 years, still a virgin girl without children, and the old lady tells everyone that I can't have kids. The child I struggled to conceive was lost after Shun Fangbing pushed me down, and the old lady showered me with complaints and harsh scolding. She said I have bad luck, that I can't even keep my own child. She wore me down day and night. blamed me, forced me to have an abortion, and still made me work, leaving me with a lifetime of postpartum illness. In my past life, I foolishly sacrificed my entire life for a fleeting and illusory love. I deserved it, but having died once already, how can I still be the hard-working fool in this life? I gave a forced smile and looked at Yi Shizhou's mother. What solution? Has everyone in the family died? Do you really need someone like me, who knows nothing, to step in and figure things out? Yi Shizhou's mother looked very displeased when I snapped at her like that. Qin Yue, I am your mother-in-law, your elder. How can you speak to me in such a tone as a junior? Once your son and I are divorced, I have nothing to do with you. Don't come here acting all high and mighty as a mother-in-law. If you feel wronged, go to your son and tell him to divorce me immediately. The old lady's heartless cruelty made me lose any desire to argue with her. She trembled with anger. You were the one who wanted to marry in the first place. So what's all this fuss about wanting a divorce now? At first, I was out of my mind, but now I'm better. Let me be clear from the start, I won't take a single cent for your Yi family, nor will I clean up your mess. If you have any issues, go to your eldest daughter-in-law or your son Yi Shizhou. Don't come to me, an outsider. Seeing that I was unmoved, the old lady was at a loss and, breaking precedent, actually discussed with me. Yu Wei, don't make a fuss, let's think carefully. Here's what we'll do, you take out the money and use it for a while. When Shen Fangbing's health improves, I'll have her leave the Yi family and get married. I was stunned. What do you mean? Fangbing is still young, and the eldest has been gone for so many years, we can't just trap her here. Shizhou told me that once her health recovers, he'll find someone to meet her and find her a man she can rely on. Letting Shen Fangbing get married was something that had never happened in the past life. Surprised, I instinctively asked, what about Yi Debao? What will happen to him? Debao is the blood of my Yi family, of course he will stay with the Yi family. From now on, Debao will be raised by you and Shizhou. He will be adopted by you as your child. I was shocked by the old lady's words. Speaking of which, in my past life, I was wholeheartedly devoted to Yi Debao, loving him as if he were my own child. But how did he treat me later on? He helped his mother, Shen Fangbing, and Yi Shizhou carry out a secret scheme. 9 times out of 10, it was Yi Debao who facilitated the collusion between Yi Shizhou and Shen Fangbing. By the time I was preparing to find Yi Shizhou, Yi Debao had long been married and had children. He and Shen Fangbing went to the countryside to block me, who was about to find Yi Shizhou, making me feel humiliated, when I was so angry that I vomited blood and collapsed. I was actually not dead yet. It was Yi Debao who cruelly covered my mouth and nose, suffocating me to death, letting the person who harmed me raise me. Isn't this the biggest joke in the world? I looked at the old lady's expectant eyes and refused resolutely. I don't have the habit of raising other people's children. You can find someone else to be the sucker. My refusal of the old lady's proposal made her very angry, and she glared at me fiercely. Qin Yue, what more do you want? We've already made such concessions, and yet you still want more. Let me tell you, if it weren't for Yi Shizhou insisting on this, I would never send Fangbing away even if I died. She is a member of the Yi family in life and a ghost of the Yi family in death. It was Yi Shizhou's idea to have Shen Fangbing marry. Why does Yi Shizhou treat the woman he likes this way? Has he been cursed? Or is there some unspeakable reason behind this? I couldn't figure it out no matter how hard I tried. And secretly grew wary in my heart. In any case, I will never continue down the path of my past life in this lifetime. I have firmly decided to divorce Yi Shizhou. I ignored Yi Shizhou's mother and took the time to return to my parents' home. Seeing my parents again felt like a lifetime apart. I held them and cried for a long time. My parents were also reluctant to let me go and asked about my married life. I didn't hide anything either and told my parents all the messy things about the Yi family. My parents had firmly refused to agree to my marriage to Yi Shizhou before. They always thought marrying Yi Shizhou was an unreliable decision. Although Yi Shizhou had already been promoted to battalion commander in the army, but his family was really too poor, his parents were ill, and there was a widowed sister-in-law and nephew. It was practically a family of vampires. My parents couldn't bear to let me marry into such hardship, but I was determined to marry only Yi Shizhou. Even if it meant causing a huge scene or committing suicide, My parents couldn't bear to see me suffer, so they agreed and used all the money they had painstakingly saved to give me as a dowry. They didn't expect that I would change my mind just 2 or 3 days after getting married. I didn't hide it from my own parents either. Mom, Dad, I regret it. I don't want to marry Yi Shizhou and serve his whole family. I want a divorce. My parents were shocked and very surprised, in this day and age. Divorce is not a small matter. Yu Wei, have you thought this through? This is something that will make people point fingers at you. I've made up my mind. I nodded firmly. After the divorce, I don't plan to stay here. I will head south to find a way to make a living. Once I settle down, I will come back to take you both with me. My parents hesitated. They didn't agree to the divorce but only said they would think it over carefully. I didn't expect Yi Shizhou to come to my house to pick me up. Shouldn't Yi Shizhou, who treasures Shen Fangbing so much, be staying by her side at the hospital without leaving her for a moment? Why did he suddenly come to my house? In the previous life, Yi Shizhou never came to my home. He never came when I was poor, and even less so when I became successful. I was very unhappy that Yi Shizhou appeared at this time, calling my parents Mom and Dad so familiarly. His attitude was too gentle, compared to the cold, dead expression he had in the last life. It was like he had become a different person. My parents are naturally kind-hearted people, and since Yi Shizhou was willing to humble himself, they didn't show him any displeasure. In the end, I had no choice but to leave with Yi Shizhou. I was very unhappy inside and showed Yi Shizhou no kindness at all. On the way back, I kept a stern face and stayed 8 zhong away from Yi Shizhou. Yi Shizhou kept looking back at me as he walked. He was much more patient than before and took the initiative to talk to me. I didn't want to answer a single word and ignored what he said. Yi Shizhou sighed. Yu Wei, what's really wrong with you? Yi Shizhou, I regret marrying you. I don't want to live with you anymore. Please let me go. Okay, as long as you let me go, I'll give you the meat and grain coupons I brought as my dowry, as well as the dowry money. Let's get a divorce right now. Yi Shizhou stared blankly at Qin Yue. This was the 3rd time since their marriage that Qin Yue had brought up divorce. He had always thought that Qin Yue was angry with him and sulking because he had abandoned her on their wedding night. But now, looking at Qin Yue's cold face, seeing her unwavering expression, and hearing the conditions she set for divorce, Yi Shizhou was now certain that Qin Yue was not just sulking, she truly wanted a divorce from him. Why? Clearly, in the previous life, Qin Yue was not like this. She happily married him and devoted her whole heart to him. She had always been so magnanimous, never contradicting him, as if she had no temper, never quarreling with him or his family even once. Why does Qin Yue seem like a completely different person after being reborn? Yi Shizhou recalled the last time he saw Qin Yue in his previous life. At that time, he had just been promoted to a new position, and upon returning, he received the tragic news of Qin Yue's passing. He couldn't believe it and rushed back to his hometown without stopping. Qin Yue lay in the coffin without anger. Shen Fangbing told Yi Debao that Qin Yue had overexerted herself, suffered a sudden illness, and passed away. He held Qin Yue's old, lifeless, calloused hand. What surged in his heart was pain and desolation. Yi Shizhou clearly knew that it was Qin Yue who made him who he is. She diligently and selflessly took care of his parents, providing a strong backing for him, allowing him to focus wholeheartedly on his work and accomplish his missions, which led to his current success. Yi Shizhou never imagined that Qin Yue would leave like this. He had thought about properly making it up to her, living harmoniously with her, and letting her enjoy a peaceful old age. Why did heaven not give him the chance? Yi Shizhou was filled with regret and pain, tears streaming down his face at Qin Yue's funeral. He thought that if heaven gave him another chance, he would definitely treat Qin Yue well, make sure she lived a good life, and never let her suffer so much. Yi Shizhou was reborn, returning to the time when he married Qin Yue. He was happy to have the chance to make it up to Qin Yue, but this time, Qin Yue was different from the last life. In her previous life, Qin Yue was wholeheartedly determined to marry him. In this life, Qin Yue only wants to leave. Why does the same person make different choices? Is it because his rebirth changed everything? Yi Shizhou firmly refuses to divorce Qin Yue. He was reborn to make it up to Qin Yue and let her live a good life. How could he possibly let go of Qin Yue? I really can't understand why Yi Shizhou would refuse to divorce. He has no feelings for me. Marrying him was only the result of my relentless persistence. Shouldn't he be very happy now that I've backed off? Why does he have to hold on to me and not let go? What exactly is the reason? I was utterly baffled as I returned to Yi Shizhou's house and pushed open the door to the room where Yi Shizhou and I were to be married. I found the room in complete disarray, my belongings all rummaged through and thrown messily on the floor. Someone had broken into the house. I silently stared at the chaos on the floor, while Yi Shizhou busied himself with tidying up. There is a courtyard wall at home, so it can't be an outsider, it must be an insider. Yi Shizhou's parents and his nephew Yi Debao also heard the noise and came over to see what was going on. I stood at the door with my arms crossed, scanning Yi Shizhou's parents and Yi Debao with my eyes before sneering and reminding Yi Shizhou, "Call the police." Before Yi Shizhou could speak, his mother spoke first. "Why call the police? Nothing has been stolen." I squinted my eyes. "How do you know nothing is missing? All the things I brought as dowry are still in the room." "You're lying. There's clearly nothing at all." Yi Debao glared at me angrily. I sneered, "How do you know there's nothing? Could it be that you're the thief?" Yi Debao's face turned red. The child couldn't hold back and shouted at me, "You wicked woman, you deliberately caused my mom to get hurt. And you're holding on to the money without letting us use it. What exactly are you up to?" I looked at Yi Debao, whose face was red with anger. "Why should my things be for you to use? Who do you think you are? You married my second uncle just to serve our family. If you don't pay and don't work, then get lost and go back. Our family doesn't need you." I smiled sweetly at Yi Shizhou, but Yi Shizhou's face was ashen. "Shut up. Is that something you should say? Why can't I say it?" Grandpa and Grandma both said this woman married into our family to give and serve us like a beast of burden. My mom said that since she married in, we'd have meat to eat, new clothes to wear, and wouldn't have to work, but she's been here for a few days, and I haven't seen any of that. Every meal is just porridge. This woman is a liar. Get her out. So your grandparents and your mother treat me like a servant and a sucker. Thanks for reminding me. I couldn't help but laugh as I spoke. While Yi Shizhou's face turned ashen, glaring angrily at his parents, You really have some nerve." Yi Shizhou's parents awkwardly dragged Yi Debao away, and I crossed my arms, looking at Yi Shizhou. "Let's be straightforward. I won't be a beast of burden for your family. It's still not too late. Divorce and find someone else to be the sucker. Let's part on good terms." "I won't get a divorce. You Wei, my parents are confused. Don't take them seriously. I swear I will treat you well." "How will you treat me well? Your money probably isn't enough to support your parents, your sister-in-law, and your nephew, right? If that's the case, what gives you the right to brag and boast to me?" Yi Shizhou was silent for a long moment before saying, "You Wei, with my parents' health the way it is, I have no choice. Supporting elderly parents is a duty. I can't abandon my parents, but I can ignore my sister-in-law. I will separate the family from them." Those words made me raise an eyebrow. Saying something like that is truly not easy, but does Yi Shizhou really have the heart to ignore Shen Fangbing? Impossible. He's lying. He still wants to keep me in check. Early the next morning, Yi Debao came to find me. That wolf cub looked at me with hateful eyes. "Qin Yue, my mom wants you to go to the hospital. Shen Fangbing wants to see me." Why should I go see her? I refused to go to the hospital to see Shen Fangbing, and Yi Debao left in a huff, but after a few hours, he came to find me again, saying Shen Fangbing had something very important to tell me. Shen Fangbing had been hospitalized for several days and had not been discharged. I know she fell pretty hard that night, but it shouldn't be serious enough for her to stay in the hospital without being discharged, right? After all, the Yi family is in no position to afford keeping her lying in the hospital wasting money. I wanted to see what Shen Fangbing was up to, so I went to the hospital. I pushed open the door and caught a glimpse of a woman lying on the hospital bed, so ugly without a nose bridge that it made me sick. Did I enter the wrong room? In shock, the woman without a nose bridge spoke. "Qin Yue, come in here. I never expected Shen Fangbing to look like this." I closed the door with a sense of schadenfreude and walked in. "What do you want to say to me?" Shen Fangbing looked at me with hatred. seeing me like this, are you very pleased with yourself? How could that be? I'm sorry to see you like this, and I hope you get better soon. I said I hoped Shen Fangbing would get better soon, but inside I was overjoyed. Karma, ha ha ha, it's all karma. In my past life, her arrogance drove me crazy. Now the wheel of fortune has turned, and it's Shen Fangbing's turn. It's ridiculous to think that Shen Fangbing, disfigured into a monster, could feel okay. I'm very curious about what Yi Shizhou's feelings are now that Shen Fangbing has become like this. Weren't they madly in love? Would Yi Shizhou still want Shen Fangbing after she's been disfigured? Shen Fangbing's resentful gaze fixed tightly on me. Qin Yue, it's all your fault that I became like this. That night, you deliberately spilled the water outside, didn't you? You knew I would come, and your goal was to kill me, right? I was very surprised that Shen Fangbing actually guessed I was the mastermind behind it all. At this point, of course, I wouldn't admit that I was the one who did it. What are you saying? I don't understand a single word. You're still pretending, you despicable woman. What a poisonous heart you have. Shen Fangbing pointed at me with her finger, and if she could get up, I have no doubt she would bite me. I took a few steps back, then heard Shen Fangbing hoarsely ask, Qin Yue, you came back too, didn't you? Shen Fangbing's words startled me. How did she know I had been reborn? Could it be that she has come back too? I can't tell if Shen Fangbing really has returned or if she's just deceiving me. I immediately denied it innocently. What exactly are you talking about? I don't understand a single word. You're still pretending to be dumb. Qin Yue, you've changed so much from before. Back then, you shamelessly fawned over Yi Shizhou, treating him like your whole world. But now, it's like you're a different person. You actually want to divorce Yi Shizhou. No need to say more. I already know. You've come back again. Don't be afraid to hear this. I've come back too. The ward was empty. Shen Fangbing, without any restraint, looked at me with venom. I know you hated that in the last life. Yi Shizhou and I deceived you behind your back. I admit it was our fault last time. We wronged you, since we've all been given a second chance this life. Let's return everything to the starting point. You step back and let me and Shizhou be. Shen Fangbing spoke with absolute certainty, determined to win Yi Shizhou. It's completely certain that she was reborn along with me. This time around, Shen Fangbing's appetite is much bigger than in the last life. She wants to be with Yi Shizhou openly and rightfully. They are lovers deeply in love, and I have no reason to refuse. I sneered. How do you want me to help you? Aren't you insisting on divorcing Shizhou? Then just go ahead and divorce him. It's not as simple as you say. I want a divorce. But Yi Shizhou doesn't agree. Shizhou can't possibly disagree. He's just trying to keep you stable. After all, in the previous life, you were so obedient, working tirelessly for this family. Shizhou just doesn't want to lose you, his free nanny and servant. I could never understand why Yi Shizhou refused to divorce. But Shen Fangbing's words finally cleared up my doubts, so it turns out he just wants to keep using me. Shen Fangbing saw that I was listening and continued, Shizhou doesn't like you at all. The person he has always liked is me. We both came from the previous life. In that life, Shizhou always protected me. Even when I pushed you and caused you to lose your child, Shizhou never held a grudge against me. To be honest, the reason you never had children afterward was also because of Shizhou. Shen Fangbing caught her breath and said, Shizhou didn't want you to bear his child, so he had me secretly give you medicine that would make you infertile. I knew Yi Shizhou and Shen Fangbing were despicable, but I never expected them to be so heartless and insane. My fingernails dug deeply into my palm. I looked at Shen Fangbing with no expression. So you said all that just to tell me how much Yi Shizhou loves you. I have no interest in your love story. Let me remind you. If you really want to be with Yi Shizhou, then convince him to divorce me. I'll be waiting for good news. After saying that, I turned to leave, but Shen Fangbing called out to me, Shizhou's status is different now, he can't easily divorce you. So, Shen Fangbing's voice dropped a few tones, so there's only one way, Qin Yue. You find a man and let Shizhou see you two together. That way, you can have a legitimate reason to divorce Shizhou. I looked at the woman on the bed. Shameless to the extreme, she really has such beautiful thoughts. They treated me so badly in their past life, and in this life, they still want to scheme against me. Yi Shizhou and I can divorce peacefully on the grounds of incompatibility. But if I find another man, that would be breaking a military marriage. Shun Fangbing's heart is exceptionally vicious. She thinks I'm a fool and wants to put me to death. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I won't look for a man. Because I'm not some disgusting thing like you, so your advice is invalid. However, I paused for a moment before slowly saying, since you're so eager to marry Yi Shizhou, why not just go all the way and be with him? That way, your wish will come true. Impossible, that's a stain. I won't allow any stain to appear on Shizhou. It would affect his promotion. So she knew it was a stain after all. That means I have to bear the dirty water, while those two bastards get to stay clean and pure. But why? Why should I indulge them? I sneered and left Shun Fangbing's ward. When I walked out of the hospital, I ran into Yi Shizhou, who had come to see Shun Fangbing. He saw me quicken my pace and said, Yu Wei, what are you doing here? Your sister-in-law said she wanted to talk to me. Yi Shizhou's expression changed instantly when he heard this. He grabbed my hand. What did she say to you? Go ask her that yourself. I sneered coldly, shook off Yi Shizhou's hand, and strode away. Yi Shizhou looked at Qin Yue's back as she disdainfully shook off his hand and left, feeling empty inside. He didn't know what Shun Fangbing had said to Qin Yue to make her behave like this. In his past life, Qin Yue had no descendants. When Shun Fangbing once mentioned wanting to live with him, he sternly refused. Shun Fangbing also planned to adopt her son Yi Debao to be his son, but he refused as well, thinking of the heartfelt things Shun Fangbing did for him after Qin Yue's death. Yi Shizhou felt inexplicably upset and strode into Shun Fangbing's hospital room. Seeing Yi Shizhou come in, Shun Fangbing's face flashed with surprise. Shizhou, you're here. Yi Shizhou looked at Shun Fangbing without much expression. Sister-in-law, your health has mostly recovered, right? If you don't feel unwell, you should be discharged, Shun Fangbing coquettishly said. My head still hurts now, and the injury on my nose hasn't healed, but you can't stay in the hospital forever, right? Go home and rest. Shun Fangbing looked at Yi Shizhou's cold face, feeling extremely wronged in her heart. Clearly, in the previous life, Yi Shizhou cared for her attentively and would agree to anything she wanted. Why does Yi Shizhou seem like a completely different person this time around? He is unwilling to keep his promise to take care of her. He even wants her to marry someone else. How could Shun Fangbing possibly get married? In her past life, she had been obsessed with Yi Shizhou for a lifetime. In this life, knowing full well that Yi Shizhou would rise to great heights with limitless prospects, how could she possibly give him up? After realizing she had been reborn, her first thought was to hold on tightly to Yi Shizhou. She was determined to find a way to marry Yi Shizhou and become his legitimate wife. Make Yi Shizhou your own man. Shun Fangbing was thinking this when she heard Yi Shizhou ask her, Sister-in-law, my mother has already talked to you, right? Talked about what? Shun Fangbing asked in return. About you remarrying. Yi Shizhou said in a very calm tone, you are still young, and you can't remain a widow for your brother all your life. I was thinking that once your health recovers, you should marry someone who truly understands you. Shun Fangbing was stunned. I won't marry. I will never marry again. Sister-in-law, think it over. Living alone without marrying will be very difficult for you. Isn't that what you are for? Shun Fangbing blurted out. Yi Shizhou shook his head. I can support you, but I can't do it for a lifetime. I'm just your younger uncle, and I have no responsibility or obligation to take care of you forever. So your best path is to find someone to marry. Yi Shizhou's words made Shun Fangbing panic. During these days in the hospital, she was still dreaming of following Yi Shizhou, who would rise to prominence in the future, living a life of luxury and ease. How did such a thing suddenly happen? Shun Fangbing couldn't believe this was Yi Shizhou's true feelings. This must not be true, Shun Fangbing thought to herself as Yi Shizhou added another sentence. If you don't want to marry and insist on staying loyal to your eldest brother, that's up to you, but I will separate you so you can live alone with Debao. Shun Fangbing was stunned, staring at Yi Shizhou. You want to split the family with me? You're not joking, are you? Yi Shizhou's expression was cold, and he answered Shun Fangbing firmly, yes, we have always been two separate families. Isn't splitting the family a natural thing? Yi Shizhou had hesitated before. But after what happened last night, all his hesitation was gone. He never expected his own parents to be such people. Yi Debao, a child not even 10 years old, what does he know? The fact that he could say things like treating Qin Yue as a servant was undoubtedly the result of his parents and Shen Fangbing's constant instructions. His own parents and Shen Fangbing truly treated Qin Yue as a servant to be ordered around. They were only after Qin Yue's dowry. They had not a shred of genuine feeling for her. Yi Shizhou thought of Qin Yue, who had dutifully and tirelessly served his parents in the countryside throughout her life in their previous lives. He had considered bringing Qin Yue to be by his side, but his parents always opposed it, constantly saying they couldn't live without Qin Yue. He saw how Qin Yue worked tirelessly and personally cared for his parents, and assumed that his parents got along well with her and were reluctant to let her go, yet he never thought of another possibility, that his parents only wanted to use Qin Yue for their own purposes, want to drain Qin Yue dry, but they are not like this towards Shen Fangbing. They kept talking in front of me about how hard it was for Shen Fangbing, about how Shen Fangbing struggled while dragging Yi Debao along, and about how pitiful my deceased eldest son was, in the previous life. At the request of my parents, he took away Shen Fangbing and Yi Debao, leaving Qin Yue behind. Yi Shizhou actually knew from a young age that his parents were very biased. They had always favored his deceased older brother, because his brother had good grades and got into university, while his own grades were average. Only his health was good. From childhood to adulthood, he was always the one being ordered around, and he worked hard without any resistance. Only after his brother was gone did his parents turn their attention to him. He pitied parents who lost their child. He was their only son, and he wanted to fulfill the duties and responsibilities of a son, but his parents didn't seem to think the same way. His parents had no feelings for him or his wife. They had always been biased only towards the deceased eldest brother, including the brother's widow and children. Yi Shizhou felt a chill in his heart, an unpleasant feeling. After realizing the true nature of his parents and understanding Shen Fangbing's intentions, he would no longer indulge them under any circumstances. This family is settled. Shen Fangbing was discharged from the hospital the next day. She covered her face with a headscarf and went straight to Yi Shizhou's mother's room upon returning. I don't know what they said behind closed doors. Over the next 2 days, Yi Shizhou's parents treated me surprisingly well. Even Shen Fangbing and Yi Debao were very kind to me. When things are abnormal, there must be something fishy. I know exactly what kind of people these few in front of me are. On the third night, after dinner, Yi Debao took the initiative to wash the dishes, while Yi Shizhou's mother wanted to drag me out. She said she had told Aunt Chen from the East End that she had some business at Aunt Chen's house in the evening. Aunt Chen has a son over 40 who is crippled, and before this, Aunt Chen and Yi Shizhou's mother had no close interactions. Thinking of what Shen Fangbing said to me at the hospital, my mind was perfectly clear. I refused directly. I have a bit of a stomachache. You go by yourself. It's not very convenient for me to go alone. You should accompany me. Yi Shizhou's mother insisted. I'm really not feeling well. How about you let Shen Fangbing go with you? Shen Fangbing immediately refused. I have things at home and can't get away. Let my sister-in-law accompany Mom. Yi Shizhou remained silent for a while, then suddenly interrupted when I refused. You go with my mom. I'll come pick you up later. I glanced at Yi Shizhou. If Yi Shizhou is saying such things, does that mean he has already made peace with his mother and Shen Fangbing? So tonight, are they definitely determined to kill me? If that's the case, then I want to see who will come out on top. I went to my room to tidy up and then followed Yi Shizhou's mother out the door. As I was leaving, I glanced back and saw the cold, sinister smile on Shen Fangbing's face that she didn't have time to hide. I followed Yi Shizhou's mother to Aunt Chen's house. Aunt Chen warmly welcomed us, asked if we had eaten, and even brewed tea and fried rice for us to eat. In this barren era, fried rice was a rare delicacy. I looked at the exchanged glances between Aunt Chen and Yi Shizhou's mother and sneered coldly. They were so enthusiastic that I couldn't reject their kindness, so I accepted the carefully prepared fried rice they offered. After holding the bowl and blowing on it for a while, I finished a bowl of fried rice under the watchful eyes of Yi Shizhou's mother and Aunt Chen. When I put down the empty bowl, I saw the triumphant smiles on the faces of Yi Shizhou's mother and Aunt Chen. I swayed my body and fell down. As I was falling, I saw Aunt Chen's lame son come in, drooling. That night, the small mountain village, silent for many years, was extraordinarily lively. The woman's piercing screams and wails shook the heavens and earth, startling all the neighbors. Everyone followed the sound and ran to Aunt Chen's house. A dense crowd filled the entire courtyard. In Aunt Chen's main room, a warm fire was burning. Those rushing into the house could clearly see Aunt Chen's lame son, naked, straddling a woman. Everyone was stunned by the scene before them, and those who came to their senses immediately rushed in to separate them. Only then did they realize that the woman being bullied by Aunt Chen's lame son was actually Shen Fangbing. Shen Fangbing was not wearing a stitch of clothing, and she was still unconscious. Someone covered Shen Fangbing with a piece of clothing and hurriedly notified Yi Shizhou's family. I only came out from behind and followed in to watch the commotion when Yi Shizhou arrived. I saw Shen Fangbing lying on the ground, covered only by a single piece of clothing. I was shocked inside but showed no trace of it on my face. It was really strange. When I called someone, the people lying in the room were clearly Yi Shizhou's mother and Aunt Chen's lame son. So how did it become Shen Fangbing's? I glanced at Yi Shizhou, whose face was dark, and he was looking right at me. His gaze was cold and sharp, making me feel a chill all over. Among the crowd, there were many who didn't know the truth, shouting that Aunt Chen's son, Chen Dazhuang, was a rapist and should be sent to jail, demanding to call the police station. Yi Shizhou ignored the discussions of the crowd, walked through them, and closed the door of Aunt Chen's main room, isolating Shen Fangbing from the onlookers. This is a misunderstanding. Sorry for disturbing everyone. Yi Shizhou spoke calmly. My sister-in-law and brother Dazhuang are mutually in love and have already agreed to marry, so they are in a normal relationship. With just a few words, Yi Shizhou dispersed the crowd of onlookers. I stood dumbfounded at the starting point. Clearly it wasn't like this. Clearly, the people in the house were Yi Shizhou's mother and Chen Dazhuang. Why did it turn into Yi Shizhou's beloved Shen Fangbing? And Yi Shizhou said Chen Dazhuang and Shen Fangbing are dating and about to get married. How does that make any sense? Just 3 days ago, Shen Fangbing was still swearing to me that she wanted to make a good match with Yi Shizhou. I was really confused. Watching as all the onlookers gradually left, there was no reason for me to stay, so I turned to leave, but Yi Shizhou grabbed my arm. He gritted his teeth and said, "What kind of good deed is this? Qin Yue, don't you have a single explanation? Explain what? Didn't you just make everything clear? I never expected you to. How do you know about my mom's scheme? Do you know why you didn't tell me? Why you treated my mom like that? If I had been a moment later, do you know what would have happened?" I know. I shook off Yi Shizhou's hand. Are they the only ones allowed to scheme against me? And I'm not allowed to fight back? I'm not. My mom was confused. She was deceived by Shen Fangbing. Shen Fangbing is so shameless. She manipulated my parents and even tried to scheme against me. I went along with it to help her. Yi Shizhou said he hid by the back window and overheard his parents conspiring with Shen Fangbing. He knew what they were planning to do, so when Shen Fangbing tried to seduce him, he knocked her unconscious and sent her to Aunt Chen's house. He said, "Yu Wei, my parents were wrong, and I will make them apologize. I will make Shen Fangbing leave this family, so you can be at ease from now on." I smiled and shook my head. Your parents are not confused, and Shen Fangbing did not manipulate them. They simply like Shen Fangbing and just want you and Shen Fangbing to grow old together. Yi Shizhou looked at me steadily. How do you know? I did not answer Yi Shizhou, but instead asked him, "Can't you see Shen Fangbing's feelings for you?" No, it's impossible between me and Shen Fangbing. I admit I once liked her, but she liked my older brother. Since she married my older brother, I have no feelings for her anymore. My care for her is only because of my parents' request, just pitying her as an orphan with no one else. Yu Wei, I never expected my parents to be so heartless. Yi Shizhou's parents really are despicable. Before this, I always thought Yi Shizhou and Shen Fangbing loved each other inseparably. Now that I see Yi Shizhou treating Shen Fangbing like this, I realize I might have misunderstood Yi Shizhou. No matter what, this matter has now come to an end. I have no interest in explaining to Yi Shizhou, nor do I care about Shen Fangbing's fate. I just told Yi Shizhou, "Let's get a divorce, we'll go handle the paperwork tomorrow." Yi Shizhou pleaded humbly, "Yu Wei, I don't want to divorce you. But I do. I am constantly thinking about getting away from you. Yi Shizhou, in my past life, I worked like a beast of burden for your family. Enough is enough. This life, just let me go. Whether you want to be with Shen Fangbing or marry another woman, it has nothing to do with me. I have only one wish, to stay away from you. We will never see each other again. As I finished speaking, Yi Shizhou took a few steps back. You came back too, I nodded. And Yi Shizhou stood in front of me, staring blankly. I'm sorry, Yu Wei. I truly apologize for my past life. I wanted to come back and give you a better life. I really want to change everything from my past life. Looking at Yi Shizhou's regretful expression, the hatred in my heart surprisingly disappeared. Shamelessly returning to my parents' home to mooch off them, taking food and drinks, all just to prevent them from saying a single bad word about me in front of Yi Shizhou. Originally, I didn't hate Yi Shizhou after I found out it was him who sent Shen Fangbing to Chen Dazhuang's bed. Yi Shizhou was not as despicable as I imagined. It was all a scheme concocted by Shen Fangbing and Yi Shizhou's parents. There was no chance for Yi Shizhou and me to mend our broken relationship, after all. The wounds from the past life could not be healed or erased. 3 days later, Yi Shizhou and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to process our divorce. A week later, I left the village with the travel expenses my parents had gathered for me. Relying on memories from my past life, I headed south to start my struggle, a journey filled with both hardships and sweetness, tears and laughter. I live for myself and fight for myself. No matter what I give, it is all worth it. Time passes quickly, and effort and reward come as a natural result. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. I had made a name for myself in the South and owned my own company. I brought my parents to live with me to take care of them, and I met a man who truly loved me. We got married and had children, and I lived a life different from my past one. I saw Yi Shizhou again 5 years later when I attended a conference where he was also a guest. He was pushed into the venue in a wheelchair. His legs were gone, and I looked at Yi Shizhou in shock. Yi Shizhou and I locked eyes on the stage, our gazes met, and there was complexity in both our eyes. After the meeting ended, Yi Shizhou wheeled his chair over to me and said, Yu Wei, long time no see. I nodded, my gaze falling on his legs. He looked at me calmly. I lost a limb in an accident while rescuing someone. You are amazing, I said sincerely. I've gained in this life. Since I can't repay you, I think of repaying others, so it's not a wasted life. I nodded. And there was nothing more to say to him. As I was leaving, Yi Shizhou called out to me, Yu Wei, my parents and Shen Fangbing all died. They passed away the year after you left. I gasped, and Yi Shizhou continued, after Shen Fangbing married Chen Dazhuang, she was unwilling and was bullied and beaten by him. She hated my parents so much that she went back and set a fire. So that's how it was. My condolences. Although I didn't want to say these 2 words, I still said them out loud.